Jenny Kumar, many thanks. In the last few minutes, it's been reported that the TV presenter Dermot Murnaghan has died. He's been suffering from cancer. Dermot Murnaghan was one of the UK's longest-serving news presenters, having been on our screens for more than 40 years. And that information just confirmed, and there is a post online from the family of Dermot Murnaghan, who say it is with great sadness that the family of Dermot Murnaghan announces that he passed away at home in North London earlier this morning, the 11th of July, at the age of 68, following a period of illness with prostate cancer. He died peacefully with his family at his side. So that news just coming into us. A very long-standing journalist, known, of course, to many over the decades, having worked at the BBC, formerly at ITN, and at Sky, but very sadly he'd suffered from prostate cancer, something that he did reveal publicly, and he said it was he felt it was in the public interest to do so, and sadly his family have had to release that message. They say that Dermot Murnaghan passed away early this morning, the 11th of July, at his home in North London at the age of 68, and he'd suffered from prostate cancer. He died peacefully with his family at his side. We will bring you more on that news as soon as we can. Emergency services in southeastern Spain are working to contain pockets of fire following one of the country's worst ever wildfires.
This is Sky News Today. It is 2 o'clock. I'm Samantha Washington with your headlines. The former Sky News presenter Dermot Murnaghan dies at the age of 68. We look back at a distinguished career and say farewell to a much-loved friend and colleague. A 26-year-old man arrested as part of the murder investigation of Anne Widdecombe is released from custody. Police believe the former Conservative minister was attacked nearly 24 hours before her body was discovered. A man's charged with the murders of his wife and 2 children near Bedford after being arrested in Johannesburg. And 3 days of mourning are declared in Andalusia after at least 12 people are killed in one of Spain's worst wildfires in its history. Good afternoon. We start this hour with the sad news that it has been announced that our former Sky News colleague Dermot Murnaghan has died. He was 68 years old. He had been diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. Dermot worked with us at Sky News for 15 years, during which he brought you many of the most consequential moments in modern history, from election nights to state occasions and the death of the late Queen Elizabeth II. We can now bring you the statement on behalf of Dermot's family, which reads, "The family wish to thank the medical teams who have cared for Dermot with such sensitivity and extraordinary compassion throughout his illness. Also for the many, many kind messages of goodwill that he received over the last year since his diagnosis of stage 4 prostate cancer and his subsequent campaigning to raise awareness for screening programmes for the disease. The family requests that anyone wishing to remember him consider supporting Prostate Cancer UK, Prostate Cancer Research and North London Hospice so that others may benefit from the research and care that he received." My colleague, Mark Austin, looks back on his life and career.
This is Sky News with Dermot Murnaghan, live from Westminster.
Good morning. This is Sky News Tonight, live from Red Square in Moscow. It's 7 o'clock. This is Sky News Tonight, live from Downing Street. A very good evening from Washington, the capital of a nation divided. Good morning and welcome to Murnaghan. Coming up, 2 hours of agenda-setting interviews from our studios here in the heart of Westminster.
With an air of easy authority, the voice that broke the news that wasn't always easy to take. was so often that of Dermot Murnaghan.
We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident and that her partner, Dodi Fayed, has also been killed.
Calm credibility is the prerequisite in these moments, and Dermot had it in spades.
We have some very important news. Buckingham Palace has just announced that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died. She was 96 years old. She was the longest reigning monarch in British history and the world's oldest head of state. Her eldest son and heir, Charles, the former Prince of Wales, is now the king.
One of Dermot's great strengths was his ability to stay remarkably calm and lucid under intense pressure. Various rumours had been circling throughout the afternoon that the Queen had died. He'd have heard in his earpiece, "Break the news, Dermot," and he did it brilliantly, ahead of everyone else as it happens. And that was classic Dermot. Calm, precise, caught the mood of the country dead right, got the tone right.
Working on some of these big historic moments with Dermot, you could see the high standards he set himself. It was a global audience watching. You know, he wanted to get it right, not just for people watching at home who would be stopping what they were doing, turning on their television, perhaps in tears watching, but also for the team at Sky. This was years in the planning. And Dermot knew he had to get it right for them as well. This ability to communicate, to be the eyes, the person who was there. He had to feel that moment and explain that to people at home, and he did it so well.
With a journalistic career that had its grounding in local newspapers, Dermot went on to work for all the country's major news broadcasters. He began at ITN with appearances on Channel 4 News and News at 10, a high-profile beginning to a high-profile broadcasting career.
We've got a poll this morning in today's Independent which is saying, and very good morning to you, I should say, which is...
Thank you. Now you're about to ruin it, are you?
In the early 2000s, Dermot embraced the more relaxed format of breakfast television with the BBC.
Pass them over.
OK, have a stretch of that. Now, Phil, you can get into that. That is a small...
I could get into that.
No, not you, but...
But the challenge of rolling news awaited at Sky News, a challenge he relished, becoming a key face of the channel.
Initially, Dermot found the pace of non-stop news quite a surprise and quite a shock to his system. But he was an agile guy with a very formidable brain. And so after the sort of first programme, he understood the speed at which he had to react. And he did that really well.
Good morning and welcome to Murnaghan, live from Westminster.
His Sunday morning politics programme drew all the big names. His interview style, not hectoring or showily combative.
Doing things that use a lot more electricity than many household chores.
Sounds like Tracy Island then. You've got banks of
you're doing the
computers.
same thing.
But precise and exacting.
I don't think you're being terribly fair. Your viewers can make their own
until
decision.
you get the party line right. OK, well, we'll have to end it there. As Shadow Business Secretary, thank you very much indeed.
In his own way, he took no prisoners.
Why do sections of the very party that you devoted your political life and soul to, why do they hate you so fundamentally?
I don't know.
As an interviewer, he was very precise. He was, he knew the brilliance of the short question, straight to the point, very clear, very much, you felt he was on the viewer's side. You always knew he was asking the questions people wanted asked. He did it very calmly, very well, very precisely, and often he'd sort of get you with just a very short question, no flannel, didn't give you lots of time to think, and that's a pretty good skill.
In the late 90s, he won a Royal Television Society award for putting Peter Mandelson on the spot over his mortgage arrangements.
When one borrows from the bank or a building society, there's a section to fill in, I'm sure you're aware of, which asks you about any outstanding debts. Did you put in £370,000 from Mr. Robinson in that
I can
column?
assure you that I have filled in all my forms.
What Dermot brought to this craft of journalism was pinpoint accuracy. He was hugely conscientious, which brought out the detail of stories, and he was utterly fearless with politicians, however erudite and articulate they were. He absolutely believed in holding authority to account.
His interviewing skill was widely acknowledged, not least by that former sparring partner and Prime Minister who came unstuck when probed about his favourite football team.
I know it's not the most important issue, but if your team has won the European Cup only once, you know who scored it?
You're wasting your precious interview time.
OK, it must be...
By misspeaking in the middle of the 2015 election. And so he challenged me on, you know, when did Villa win the Champions League? And I knew the date, but I just didn't want to get it wrong. I was thinking, so I wouldn't answer. I said it was in the early 80s, and I didn't answer the question. And he just kept going. And I think eventually I said, look, you're using up valuable interview time here. But it was very precise, and he had that sort of smile on his face while he was doing it. It was I remember, uncomfortable for me, but I guess there were lots of people out there wanted to know whether I knew the answer.
Not so fast. Sky News here. With me, Dermot Murnaghan.
But this serious broadcaster never took himself too seriously.
Welcome to Eggheads, the show where a team of 5 quiz challengers pit their wits against possibly the greatest quiz team in Britain.
Grabbing any opportunity to throw off the straitjacket of news, whether with comedy sketches or quiz shows.
When you cycle around the Cadbury site here in Keynsham, you get a real sense of just how embedded in the local community it has all become.
Cycling was his love and joy, with many an hour spent battling the climes of this country and his beloved Ireland, where his family had a home.
I've got a fundraising page, which I know you're going to put up there.
But the real battle was with prostate cancer, and it was a grim one. Untested and undiagnosed until well into his 60s, he was eventually told he had stage 4 cancer.
I fell very ill on a foreign holiday, and you know, kind of rushed back here to get treated by a wonderful health service, and was diagnosed, real bolt from the blue.
With fellow sufferers like Sir Chris Hoy and later David Cameron, he spoke out to warn others and to call for a national screening programme.
Look at the benefit to catching someone like Chris or me earlier on in the diagnosis.
I think it's really important that Dermot came out in the way that he did. As in his broadcasting life, he did it with incredible clarity and just simplicity. He just said to people, you know, I wish I had had it, I should have done it, you should get it. Don't make my mistake. It was incredibly clear, and someone who was so well known to people through his broadcasting career over 40 years, it will have had a huge impact. He will have saved people's lives because people would have heard him say that. They'd think, okay, I won't put off the PSA test, I'll go and ask for one, I'll ask my doctor. And I think it was brilliant that he came out when he did, that he spoke so clearly, and he would have saved lives.
There was a bravery in adversity that characterised the man.
I think we as men have got to start saying we've got to be seen as human beings who may die of this thing.
There was a committee, and a very learned committee, deciding whether there should be a national screening programme for prostate cancer, who just recently reported and said they'll widen the doors, the gates ever so slightly, but they don't think there should be a national one. I know you followed that. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
I love Dermot's company. He didn't say very much, but when he did chat, what he said was golden, insightful and clear and on the money. And what I really liked about him, that's why he was a good journalist, is he didn't like authority, and he wasn't shy of showing it.
And I want to say thanks to you all for putting up with me and supporting me so resolutely through elections, resigning prime ministers and monarchs' funerals.
Dermot Murnaghan, a consummate broadcaster, a voice of our times, a husband, a father, a friend to so many, taken from us so cruelly soon.
You stay classy, planet Earth. Goodbye.
Well, Dermot's former co-presenter, Natasha Kaplinsky, joins me now. Natasha, you will know Dermot, having shared a sofa with him on national television for years, better than most. Your thoughts today?
Well, I mean, what a beautiful obituary that Mark put together there. An amazing tribute to an incredibly special man. It's so hard to hear his voice and see him so alive. So actually losing Dermot is just such a sadness. Dermot, as so many people have just reflected, was a really significant man. He was significant as a journalist. He was significant as a friend. And as Mark touched on towards the end, he was an amazingly strong family man. He adored his wife, Maria, and his children, an Arsenal football fan and an incredible friend. You know, he was there whenever he was needed. But as a co-presenter, he was second to none. I mean, we had an amazing relationship. We were at work. We first started working together at the BBC, getting up at 3:20, being, you know, in the studio at 4 a.m. And we just trusted each other implicitly. And yeah, I've obviously known that this is coming for quite some time, but it's a very sad day.
Yeah, it is. We all learnt from him. That's something that's coming up as a recurring theme. We all learnt from him as journalists. Wonder, when you share a sofa with somebody in those brutally early hours that you did together, what do you remember learning from him?
Well, aside from, you know, the points that have already been made in the sense that Dermot was a master craftsman, you know, he was so articulate, he was golden, he was insightful, he was so clear, he took no prisoners. He was very funny, but he was, you know, laser sharp in his observations. But sitting next to him was an absolute honour because we were aware of each other's strengths and each other's, not so, I wouldn't say weaknesses, but where we weren't quite as strong. And so when the interviews came, we would just support each other, whether or not that was just talking through interviews prior to the interviews coming up or touching base at the end of the interview to mop up a question that one of us might have forgotten. I honestly felt, in a sense, that, you know, when I breathed out, Dermot breathed in, and when it was the other way around, you know, I breathed in, Dermot breathed out. We worked together so well. It's so rare to get a relationship that is so trusting on air. And, you know, that was one of my first on-screen husband experiences was with Dermot, and it was very hard to beat. He was an amazing co-presenter and turned out to be a long-term friend. I'm going to miss him so much.
Yeah. And even after you left broadcasting, you stayed close, didn't you, with him? When did you last see him, Natasha?
I saw him just a few weeks ago, actually. It was a very rainy day and we just went out for a coffee. He was a man still at that point who wasn't going to give up. We were trying to get him onto a trial in America. And, you know, I know that what he would want people to learn from this great sadness is to promote, you know, getting yourself checked as a man for prostate, to have PSA tests. He would ask people to learn from his loss. And he would want this to be, you know, a learning lesson for so many because he regretted so deeply that he wasn't checked early enough. And, you know, he fought so hard. But, yeah, very, very sadly, it was not to be beaten for Dermot.
He was a man that loved life, didn't he? And, you know, you see that raise of the eyebrow and a glint in the eye.
He was a very funny man. I mean, obviously, you know, viewers will know him as being really sharp, an acute journalist, acerbic with his wit, but he was great fun off screen as well as on. He was an incredibly supportive friend through hard times and good times. But, you know, his love of football, of cycling, of being with his family, his friends was so important to him. He was generally just an incredibly special person. And it really is such a loss that he, died at 68. It's nothing. But literally, 4 weeks ago is when I last saw him, and we've been messaging every day until quite recently.
Yeah, it's no age at all, is it? 68. And the importance of that legacy and using the profile that he had to raise awareness about the importance of getting tested early. And he didn't indulge in self-pity either.
Not at all. I mean, there wasn't a moment of self-pity. And as I said, even until the last, he was really, really fighting to be alive. He was not ready to go. I just don't know what else I can say apart from that he would ask people to learn from this huge sadness and to promote the cause and to get themselves tested, because he didn't need to pass this early.
Well, Natasha, we really appreciate you coming on to share your memories of your friend and former colleague, Dermot Murnaghan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, a little bit earlier, Ian King, you will probably remember, former business presenter here at Sky, spoke to us about his exceptionally generous former colleague.
Dermot was just a magnificently generous, very kind colleague. And you're right. I mean, when I joined Sky News after many years in newspapers, I'd never presented on TV before. And a director called Neil Hunter was sort of assigned to me to put me through my paces and work on various scripts and everything. And the one thing that he said to me right at the outset, he just said, whatever you do over the next couple of weeks before you actually go on air and launch yourself, just watch what Dermot Murnaghan does. So if you can sit with him, near him in the studio, see the way he reads the auto cue, see the way he interacts with guests, see the way that he asks questions. He says, if you could model yourself on absolutely anyone in the organisation, he's the person to model yourself on. And yeah, he was never. I mean, he wasn't someone that would sort of foist advice or opinions on you, but if you wanted a sort of quiet word in his ear or something like that and just say, what did you think of that, Dermot? He was absolutely exceptionally generous with his time and very good like that. And I saw him do that with lots of colleagues over the years. He'd be very, very kind with people, very generous on air as well. I mean, if you do, as you know, if you're on with a presenter, sometimes the presenter makes it all about them. And if you're going on as a sort of correspondent or a pundit, which quite often I would do with Dermot, on things like Budget Day or whatever, he would absolutely make sure it was all about the guests and giving the guests airtime and to get their opinions over as well. And that was, as I say, that's a real talent in a presenter to make the guests feel at ease with the correspondents and the pundits, to give them a sort of fair crack of the whip and just remember what it's all about, which is all about conveying information to the audience. He was just exceptionally good at that. And then off camera as well, he was just a great, he was just a lovely bloke to hang around with. He was just very, very, he was funny, he was brilliant fun in the newsroom. I remember one time we were going off to, we'd had these sort of meetings of Sky News presenters, and Dermot was not a great fan of these, it's fair to say. He didn't really want to have to go along and do them, but he found a way of getting out of one on this particular occasion. He said, right, I want you to go over there. I want every cough and spit, all the gossip that was, everything that was relayed in that meeting. I want you to pass it all back to me later. And I remember coming back and he said, did anything happen then? Anything to report? And I said, I think the main thing that happened was that Adam Bolton appeared to nod off at one point. He was just great company, a sort of irresistible gossip. After we both left Sky News, I remember going for an absolutely fantastic lunch with him and one of our colleagues, and it was just absolutely uproarious. It went on far longer than it should do. He was just tremendous company, and as I say, brilliant journalist.
Dermot Murnaghan, a broadcaster and former colleague of ours at Sky News, who has died at the age of 68. You're watching Sky News Today. We can now bring you the rest of the day's stories. That'll be coming up for you after the break.
Jenny Kumar, BBC News, Dartmoor.
The newsreader and presenter Dermot Murnaghan has died at the age of 68, a year after he revealed he'd been diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. Dermot Murnaghan was a fixture of TV news for decades, at ITV, for 5 years on BBC Breakfast, and for 16 years at Sky News. Our correspondent Guy Lambert looks back at his life.
Good morning from Vatican City in Rome. This is a special edition of Breakfast with me, Dermot Murnaghan, live in the Polish capital, Warsaw. Gordon Brown, Prime Minister.
For more than 4 decades, Dermot Murnaghan was one of the defining faces of British television news.
Murnaghan here in Washington. We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident.
His calm style and rigorous journalism earned the trust of viewers across the country. Born in Barnstaple and raised in Northern Ireland, Murnaghan began his career in newspapers before moving into television, where he would go on to work for all of the country's major broadcasters. Never afraid to ask difficult questions, his 1998 interview with the then Trade Secretary Peter Mandelson helped trigger the minister's resignation, scoring Murnaghan a Royal Television Society Award.
When one borrows from the bank or a building society, there's a section to fill in, I'm sure you're aware of, which asks you about any outstanding debts. Did you put in £370,000 from Mr. Robinson in that
I can assure you that I have filled in all my forms.
And it was when he joined the BBC Breakfast sofa in 2002 that his true personality shone through.
Make someone feel special. Give them a hug. Stop moving away, Louise.
I'm waiting. Just, you know. Nearly.
5 years later, he joined Sky News, becoming one of the network's best-known presenters.
Live from Westminster.
Away from the newsroom, he presented the quiz show Eggheads for over a decade, and his love of cycling and fundraising took him across the world.
Like me,
He revealed he'd been diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer in 2025 and used his diagnosis to raise awareness.
Men, if you're in a high-risk group, go and get yourself checked. Now, the important thing is to know if you are in a high-risk group.
In a statement, his family announced he died peacefully at his home in North London, aged 68, with his family by his side.
I want to say thanks to you all for putting...
Dermot Murnaghan, described as peerless in the presenter's chair by his colleagues, a journalist whose kind and sharp interviewing wit made him one of Britain's most respected broadcasters.
You stay classy, planet Earth. Goodbye.
The broadcaster Dermot Murnaghan, who's died at the age of 68. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has warned the incoming Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, that he needs to be...
Finally, tonight, we remember former ITV News presenter Dermot Murnaghan, who's died at the age of 68, a year after being diagnosed with prostate cancer. He had a career spanning 5 decades. His family say he died peacefully with them by his side. Sam Holder looks back at his career.
Few have presented for all the UK's major news networks. Dermot Murnaghan started at Channel 4.
Good morning, you're watching the Channel 4 Daily.
Before becoming one of the main presenters here on ITV News.
We have a flash here from the Press Association Newswire saying that Diana, Princess of Wales, has died in a car crash in Paris.
His tenacious interview with Peter Mandelson in 1998...
Do you regret not telling him then, given what's happened subsequently?
Oh, well, obviously...
led to Mandelson's cabinet resignation the next day and awards for Murnaghan. He was trusted to give Queen Elizabeth II a behind-the-scenes tour of ITN.
If you are wearing green, you would disappear if you stand in this part, so I suggest you don't join me there.
From BBC Breakfast to a Top Gear cameo and presenting Eggheads, he became one of Sky News' lead anchors in 2007.
Good morning and welcome to Murnaghan. Coming up.
In June last year, he announced he'd been diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer.
It affects so many people.
Using his position to encourage men over 50 to seek early screening. In his career, Murnaghan reached millions across multiple channels, becoming one of the most trusted and recognised news presenters in Britain.
Thanks for making this career so worthwhile.
Former ITV News presenter Dermot Murnaghan, who's died at the age of 68. And that's it from us this evening. The England match is here on ITV with build-up from 8:45. Enjoy the game. Bye-bye.